which square foot of land is going to be developed, because that's really not part of what this general plan does. But it could have the effect could affect a number of different wetlands, riparian areas, et cetera. We have water impacts, an increase in demand for water from groundwater sources, the drawdown of underlying aquifers, and requiring additional water supplies, capacity, and treatment.
Eric, before we proceed, Supervisor Smith?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're moving forward here with topics addressed, and then you're taking us through the significant impacts.
Right.
How is the concept of mitigation woven into this? I mean, when you're talking about significant air quality issues, as an example, it says significant and unavoidable, but aren't there avenues that you can use to mitigate both short and long term? And how is that going to be addressed with respect to the document?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good question. When you read through each section, it starts off with just kind of the environmental setting, kind of what's the air quality in the county like, et cetera. Then it gets into impacts, then it gets into mitigation. And because this is a general plan EIR, what we tried to do was write the policies in the plan to address the impacts that would be created by the plan itself. When you see one of these impacts up here, for instance, air quality, that says long-term emissions can't really be mitigated, it means you can mitigate them, but you can't get rid of them. So there are some areas where, even with all the policies in the plan, even with all the other regulations that affect growth and development, there will be some impacts that can't be avoided. And those vary, but when you read through, you'll see most of the mitigation is coming from the plan itself. You'll see a few mitigation measures in there that recommend some additional policies, not many. But even with all that, in a few cases, and those are what these slides get into, there will still be some impacts.
Well, given the new state mandates and the various things that we really are getting emails on constantly with respect to where things are going,
right?
State versus local control, emission standards moving forward, the governor's plan for, I think, emission reductions by 2010, I think it is. I forget the number of that legislation, but probably you're aware of it. When you say there are not many, there are some policy recommendations, but not many. I just hope we would have an opportunity to have a discussion about that, because I would think that this is one of the things in the forefront of planning documents and state concern. So I would think that we would want to have a very proactive plan with respect to air quality, as an example.
Yeah, and actually, like I said, we've worked very closely with the air quality district, and actually spent about 2 or 3 hours on a conference call with them. They had looked through all the air quality policies in both of the elements of the plan, and they were confident that we had put everything in there that we feasibly could. Actually, there were a few that we took out because they were really kind of duplicative of things that they were already doing. So they already feel that what's in there is what can be. Air quality is it's one of those tough impacts to fully address, because as long as you have a car driving to someone's house, you're going to have air quality impacts. So we're consistent with what their targets are, with their air quality attainment plans. But even then, you're still adding some air pollutants to the mix, and it'll still have an impact. That's one of the ones that's very hard to fully mitigate, to have no air quality impacts at all.
Thank you.
So, and actually, just real quickly again, the last item on this, one of the significant impacts is global climate change, and that's something that's obviously becoming more and more important as we go forward, and more is learned about that, and it's definitely looked at in the EIR. You also, I think, will recall that we have policies in the plan that address that whole issue as well. So again, some important dates coming up. November 3rd at 5 o'clock is the deadline to get written comments in on the EIR. We'll also accept them until that date on the general plan. We always encourage people to submit written comments. We're going to have a number of workshops, which are noted here. October 7th, 8th, and 9th, we're going to do a series of 6 workshops throughout the county, from Fort Bragg to Redwood Valley, to introduce the public again to both the general plan and the EIR, and we'll take comments then, but we always encourage people to put it in writing so you can get it in your own words. When you see this document come back to you again toward the end of the approval process, you'll see the draft EIR, and you'll see another set of comments. Every single comment that comes in is cataloged, it's written down. People know exactly how their comment was responded to, so they can go through and pose a question and then see how it's been answered. So October 7th, 8th, and 9th, again, we take it on the road. October 16th is when the Planning Commission is going to have a similar kind of meeting where the public can come and both the Planning Commission and public can submit comments or ask questions about the EIR. It'll come back to you on the 27th of October, and then November 3rd, again, the comment period ends. At that point, we sit down with the planning team here and develop responses to all of those comments, and yes, we do expect there'll be hundreds of them. And then in January, after we've had a chance to respond to all those comments and work through that with staff, with other agencies, et cetera, you'll see an updated version of both the general plan and the EIR coming back to you, addressing all those comments. So in addition, during this intervening period to going through the EIR, we're going to go through the general plan. I know we have a number of comments already on suggested changes in policy, so you'll see that coming up. And then February and March is the start of the hearing process. So we need to go through the Planning Commission process first. That's scheduled to start in February. They will make a recommendation to you, and then it comes back to you hopefully in March for some final action. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to accept any comments that you have today.